Now to our first story. The opposition politicians have continued with their onslaught on President William Ruto's government. Speaking today to the press at the Liberation House in Nairobi, they condemned the Kenya Kwanza government as corrupt, inept and oppressive. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka led the troop.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has today led the opposition politicians in calling President William Ruto's administration to order.
As the united opposition, we will not be silent as our country is auctioned. We will not bow down to intimidation. We will not allow the proliferation of fake news and propaganda to define our time. We will not allow a nation built on liberation to be destroyed by deception. Mr. Ruto, together with your team, you're on borrowed time. Hashtag one term is not just a reality, it is an eventuality.
As they maintain that they will not be silenced by the government in speaking the truth to Kenyans. According to PLP party leader Martha Karua, government had intended recently to assassinate leaders allied to the opposition, including Murang'a Senator John Methu, while on a political rally. Karua has called for probe and accountability on responsible officers.
By violence of police bullets and a state-sponsored militia. Specific members of our teams, namely Senator Methu, Honorable Victor Munyaka, and Jamnik Kamau, were targeted for assassination. The evidence is clear in the bullet holes.
Finance Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi too was on the receiving end by his recent remarks to reduce capitation on free secondary education.
Just a week ago, the Cabinet Secretary for Finance, John Mbadi, publicly declared that Kenya can no longer sustain free primary and secondary education. The proposed cuts to capitation and demand that Kenyan parents pay more for the education is an affront to Constitution, having been entrenched in Article 43(1).
The team intends to field joint candidates in the upcoming by-election.
But we want to also ask IEBC, now that they're properly constituted. There are many constituencies, 6 of them. There are many wards. It will start with the by-elections. We will be fielding joint candidates.
Conspicuously absent here was DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, who is overseas in the United States of America for a 1-month sabbatical.
Moving on swiftly, a group of concerned Siaya residents filed a formal petition at the County Assembly demanding answers over the prolonged absence of Governor James Orengo and his deputy. Led by High Court Advocate Maurice Okumu and operating under the Siaya Bunge la Wananchi Forum, the petitioners urged the Assembly to urgently perform its oversight role and address what they termed as a leadership vacuum.
For the last 1.5 months, both the governor and his deputy have not been seen in public performing their duties as envisaged under Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya and the County Government Act. They have not been seen in public, and the citizens are gossiping because there's no information coming from either the executive or the county government as to where these two holders of very important office of the governor of county government of Siaya are. Speculations are ripe, and we have come to petition this assembly to ensure that this speculation from the citizen of Siaya comes to an end by somebody coming to address the same. Where is the governor? Where is the deputy governor? The second item on petition is that in the course of the absence of these two holders of the office of the governor, the Speaker of the County Assembly of Siaya has been seen to be attending functions in the county, which is okay, but he has proceeded also to execute functions that are meant for the executive. The absence of the governor and his deputy, we have requested that if that process can be reduced to a very minimum, so that there's a statement that comes out from this assembly so that the gossip that is going around in the whole county is reduced and they are promised, the clerk has promised that he will present our petition.
In a strategic outreach to the heart of Kenya's youth demographic, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has placed national peace and stability squarely on their shoulders during a high-level engagement with youth leaders in Tharaka Nithi County. The DP framed young people not just as future leaders but as present-day custodians of the country's unity, warning them against becoming tools in political power games. Here are the details.
Comrades power! Comrades power!
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki met with youth representatives in Tharaka Nithi County as part of a broader effort to strengthen engagement with young people. During the meeting, he underscored the vital role youth play in maintaining national peace and stability, calling on them to be active participants in civic matters while prioritizing the country's unity.
I want you to know that you young people, you must insist on how we run the country, the parameters and principles upon which we run the country. You must be more focused and more serious than the other people. Some of the people want to destabilize Kenya, have the means, if the country broke into pieces, to run away and have life elsewhere. Isn't it? They have a way of evacuating their children and families and leaving millions of Kenyans who cannot have that privilege. So because they have already had work, they have already had businesses, they have already made money, which young people are yet to make because they are still in college, and they have also, others have just finished college.
He emphasized that while it is important for the youth to raise questions and hold leaders accountable, this must be done with a broader interest of national cohesion in mind. Kindiki pointed out that young people have the greatest stake in the country's future and should thereof lead by example in promoting dialogue and social harmony.
With you, you must insist that yes, we must question government. We must ask questions. We must demand accountability. We must demand that corrupt people action be taken. We must ask for law and order in a manner that does not injure the rights and liberties of people who are unarmed and people who are not violent. But as we do those things, as we ask questions, as we demand for answers, as we protest, as we demonstrate, as we picket, as we use all avenues to ask questions, especially to those in power and those in authority, we must not use that chance to burn down the country. Because if you burn the country, then there will be no country even to take care of everybody, including yourself.
The Deputy President also cautioned the youth against falling prey to political manipulation, particularly during sensitive political periods. He encouraged them to be vigilant and avoid being used by individuals or groups with divisive agendas. The engagement forms part of the government's ongoing outreach to ensure inclusive development and youth empowerment across the country. Beatrice Wangoi, GBS News.
Every day,
Kenya and Morocco have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening bilateral ties as the Moroccan community in Nairobi marked a historic royal celebration. Let's have a look.
At the invitation of His Excellency Abderrazak Lassal, Ambassador of the Kingdom of Morocco to Kenya, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, joined the Moroccan community in Nairobi to commemorate the 26th anniversary of His Majesty King Mohammed VI's accession to the throne. The event marked a significant moment of national pride for the people of Morocco, celebrating a legacy of unity, continuity, and forward-looking leadership. Under His Majesty's stewardship, Morocco has made notable strides in infrastructure development, social progress, and economic transformation.
Today, Morocco fully assumes its place on the international chessboard. It has become a credible and listened to actor bearer of solutions, particularly in Africa, where it defends a future based on integration, solidarity, and win-win cooperation. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate not only the remarkable achievements of His Majesty's reign, but also the strengthening bond between Morocco and Kenya. The presence of His Excellency Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, as our chief guest, marks a historic moment in our bilateral relations.
His Excellency Mudavadi reaffirmed Kenya's strong and growing partnership with Morocco, anchored in mutual respect, shared aspiration, and a common vision for sustainable development.
And the people of the Kingdom of Morocco, on the occasion of the 26th anniversary of His Majesty's accession to the throne, formally on 30th July 1999. In the same spirit, I bring warm congratulatory messages from His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, along with the best wishes of the Kenyan people. To His Majesty, the King, the royal family, and the people of Morocco on this momentous national day, commonly known as the Throne Day. It is therefore an honor to join you today with my colleagues.
The two nations continue to strengthen collaboration across key sectors, including trade, education, renewable energy, technology, and people-to-people ties, paving the way for deeper regional cooperation and great prosperity. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi.
Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep streaming through our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. We'll be right back.
AS and A levels is a qualification program that is advanced. That is after one has completed the high GCSE program, then they advise to continue for AS and A level. AS typically is a 1-year program, and A levels is done in the 2nd year after completing the AS level. And this one equips the student with the knowledge that is recommended for the university and also by employers outside the countries or within the country.
And for the topic of the day is self-awareness and sisterhood. Self-awareness and sisterhood.
People know they're self-aware, but if you don't know how to act on it, then you're not really as self-aware as you think.
I usually say garbage in, garbage out, and whatever. You cannot give what you don't have. So impact yourself first and work on yourself. If you feel like they're draining you, well and good.
By the way, kuna kijana, unajua Ian amekuwa akinichanganya nini, and I really want us to be together. Unaniambia, Ian, acha nikwambie, ufanye hivi na hivi na hivi. Alafu tunakuja friend dinner or something, na kuna una turn up na Ian, are you mad?
You know, as adulting is adulting, right now is the real intentionality that comes in. But if you are self-aware as a person, you get to now be intentional with kama mmekuwa distant, you can reach out.
So today's game is sing the artist song, right? Sing the artist song.
Nyashinski!
Aya basi, sing for us. Twende nalo.
Uko sana, wote malaika na mabawa ya, wote wanapita wewe mama ya.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. At least 22 people are reported dead, more than 200 injured as unrest ensues in Luanda, the capital city of Angola. The Angolan government decision to hike fuel prices by 33% sparked protests from taxi drivers. Now, Luanda has witnessed riots since Monday this week, looting and property destruction as police clash with protesters.
For the third day running, Luanda, the capital city of Angola, is witnessing unrest sparked by the government's decision to cut fuel subsidy and raise diesel prices by 33%. So far, at least 22 people have been reported dead and about 200 injured, while 1,200 people have been arrested following the protests. Angolans decry corruption, unemployment and food insecurity. Angola is an oil-rich, impoverished South African country. Unrest began on Monday as taxi drivers striked to protest the hike in fuel prices, which in turn increased the cost of staple food. People now remain indoors for security concerns, as riots, rampant looting and destruction of property continue, affecting even transport. Foreign embassies, including United States of America, have so far issued warnings to their citizens, advising citizens to limit travels in Luanda. President João Lourenço has dismissed the concerns about the 33% fuel price hike. Lourenço says protesters are using it as a political tool. Meanwhile, Taxi Drivers Union, which had initially called for the strike, has distanced themselves from the looting and destruction of property. From Luanda, Angola, I'm Victor Uding.
Tensions are rising in Ivory Coast as President Alassane Ouattara announces his controversial bid for a fourth term in office. Opposition leaders are calling the move unconstitutional and warning of deepening political unrest ahead of the October election. Is more the story.
President Alassane Ouattara's decision to seek a fourth term in Ivory Coast has triggered strong backlash from opposition parties. At 83, Ouattara cites national security and economic instability as reasons to stay in power.
Oui, je suis candidat parce que
Yes, I'm a candidate because the constitution of our country allows me to seek another term, and my health permits it. I am a candidate because our country is facing unprecedented security, economic and monetary challenges, the management of which requires experience.
But critics call the move unconstitutional and dangerous for democracy.
Comment il peut justifier que la Constitution l'autorise?
How can he justify that the Constitution allows him to run for a fourth term when the Constitution is consistent? That one cannot serve more than 2 terms, and that at the time it was adopted, the leaders and drafters of the Constitution themselves were adamant that it did not allow M. Ouattara to run for another term. Furthermore, independent of the Constitution, he himself has repeatedly said that he is ready to pass the torch to the next generation. In 2020, he cited exceptional circumstances to justify his candidacy. So, how can he explain that today he's seeking a fourth term?
Opposition leader Pascal Afingwe's son argues the constitution was never meant to allow more than 2 terms and says Ouattara is now part of the country's problems, not the solution.
He's become a problem. He's divided Ivorians. He imprisons people day in and day out. He's destroyed our relations with the sub-region. He's truly become a problem for Côte d'Ivoire. And this problem must be resolved so that the country can regain its unity and stability, rebuild its relations with the West African sub-region first, and then reposition itself on the international stage.
With key rivals barred from the race, concerns over fairness and transparency are rising.
They are preventing me from running because they're afraid. They know I'm popular. It's unfair. We want the government to allow those eligible to make the choice of their representative. This is not democratic.
The conditions are not at all right, as there are several important candidates belonging to major political parties who've been excluded from the process and are now campaigning to be reinstated. Until the entire opposition mobilizes to ensure that the Independent Electoral Commission is more transparent and more balanced, so that the electoral code is revised, the electoral roll is cleaned up, and all these issues are resolved, there is no prospect of peaceful elections.
On ne peut pas parler de perspective d'élection apaisée.
Many Ivorians, especially the youth, are demanding change. As the October elections approach, the country faces growing tension and a critical test for its democracy. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
The United Nations is raising the alarm over the worsening humanitarian crisis in Sudan. Thousands are facing hunger, disease, and extreme weather conditions. As aid efforts struggle to keep up, the UN officials are now calling for urgent international support.
The United Nations is warning of a growing humanitarian emergency in Sudan, with thousands of families caught between conflict, disease, and climate shocks. In East Darfur, the situation is dire. More than 7,000 people living at Lagawa displacement site are running out of food. Local doctors say fighting in the region is blocking aid from reaching families who urgently need food and medical care.
Turning to Sudan, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says it's alarmed by the rising toll of hunger, disease, and displacement in various parts of the country. In East Darfur State, local sources report that the Lagawa displacement site, hosting over 7,000 people, is facing severe food shortages. Doctors there warn that the ongoing conflict continues to block aid delivery, leaving vulnerable families without access to food or health care.
In El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, people are reportedly dying from hunger and malnutrition. Community kitchens have shut down, and some residents have turned to eating animal feed to survive.
In the besieged city of El Fasher, the state capital of North Darfur, local sources report that people are dying from hunger and malnutrition. Community-run kitchens have shut down due to a lack of food stocks, and some residents have reportedly resorted to consuming animal feed.
Health concerns are also rising in Tawila, where cholera cases have spiked. Aid workers have expanded treatment centers, but supplies are running low.
The locality of Tawila in North Darfur, our humanitarian partners have scaled up their response to cholera. Our partners have expanded treatment care center capacities, but needs remain acute. Medical supplies are running low, and it is critical that clean water supplies, the construction of latrines, and awareness campaigns be urgently ramped up.
There is a critical need for clean water, toilets, and public health education to prevent further spread. The weather is making things even worse.
Meanwhile, our partners report that in North Kordofan state, heavy rains displaced around 550 people and damaged or destroyed over 170 homes in the locality of Rahad on Monday. In the eastern Sudan state of Kassala, torrential rains have devastated the Garb al-Matar site for displaced families, affecting more than 6,000 people. Many tents were flooded, leaving children exposed to cold, hunger, and unsanitary conditions.
And in Port Sudan, soaring temperatures are turning deadly. With power outages affecting hospitals, at least 3 people have died this week, and dozens more have suffered sunstroke.
3 people have reportedly died this week, and over 50 others have suffered sunstroke due to extreme heat and a prolonged power outage. With temperatures reaching 47 degrees Celsius and hospitals overwhelmed, health workers are calling for urgent support, including cooling equipment, medical supplies, and personnel.
Despite all this, response remained underfunded. The UN says it needs over $4 billion this year to support 21 million people. So far, only 23% of that money has come through.
These cascading crises demand increased international support. The 2025 response plan, seeking $4.2 billion to assist 21 million of the most vulnerable people across Sudan, is currently 23% funded, with $952 million received to date. OCHA once again calls on donors to scale up funding for the response.
Susan Nganga, GBS News, Sudan.
We are taking a short break. Keep streaming through our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. We'll be right back.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi mida ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by the Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you you can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA hapo
hiyo ni ndoto. Mimi yote nasema hawezi, sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rais.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. Gaza is on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe as Israeli restrictions continue to block vital aid, leaving warehouses empty and residents starving. According to the UN, the limited assistance reaching the enclave is nowhere near enough to prevent rising deaths and from hunger and malnutrition, highlighting what officials describe as a deliberate and devastating policy of deprivation. Beatrice Wangui with the details.
Humanitarian desperation in Gaza is reaching new heights as aid warehouses remain virtually empty due to Israel's continued blockade. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the limited aid that does make it through is insufficient to counter what it describes as a deliberate policy for starvation. The agency warns that civilians, especially children and the elderly, are dying from hunger and malnutrition with no sign of a relief in sight.
Because of hunger and the lack of food, my children have nothing to eat. I haven't had any flour for nearly 2 months. We just want to eat and survive.
Despite repeated international appeals, Israeli restrictions on crossings and deliveries have choked the flow of food, medicine and other essentials into the besieged enclave. Aid convoys are either delayed or turned back, or what little gets through is far from meeting the urgent needs of Gaza's more than 2 million residents. Humanitarian organizations on the ground describe the situation as catastrophic, with some families surviving on one meal every 2 days.
Come in with us and we load the aid together. Then they let us in small groups, 10 vehicles at a time. But as soon as we exit, people swarm us. They climb onto the trucks, damage the vehicles. Drivers have no protection at all.
The worsening crisis has drawn sharp condemnation from global aid groups and some governments who accuse Israel of violating international law by using starvation as a weapon of war. Immediate and unhindered humanitarian access, warning that without urgent action, the death toll from preventable causes like hunger could soon outspace that of direct conflict.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all goods imported from India, escalating global trade tensions. The tariffs, set to take effect this Friday, are part of a broader set of trade measures targeting multiple countries. Let's have a look.
Very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff, but you'll know at the end of this week.
As with a lot of the Trump messaging and signaling, it's never over till it's over. And so he has already said that this is not the final word on the tariff levels for India. He's left the door open to further talks, and clearly Indian officials are going to be walking in that door, and they are going to continue conversations. Now, there are only so many concessions that the Indian officials can make, because there are a whole bunch of constraints that they have to look out for on the domestic political front. And I think at some point, Trump and Modi will have to have a conversation about their respective, political constituencies that they need to meet. So I think this is not the final word on the tariff rate on India, but it is a significant step in that direction.
It's time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Two-time African Nation Championship CHAN winners DR Congo landed in Nairobi Thursday morning ahead of the highly anticipated Group A clash against co-host Kenya on Sunday afternoon. The Leopards touched down at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and are scheduled to hold their first training session later in the evening to help players recover from the journey. DRC Congo opened the tournament against host Harambee Stars at a sold-out Kasarani Stadium on Sunday 3 p.m. now. The head coach Otis Ngoma is aiming to consolidate the Leopard status as one of the tournament's most decorated teams. Speaking shortly after landing, Ngoma praised the hospitality and affirmed that his side were fully prepared for the challenge ahead. Forward Oscar Cabrit will be a key figure in DR Congo's attack against debuting Harambee Stars. Whether playing as a central striker or drifting to the wings, Kabwit's versatility and knack for creating chances will be pivotal to the Leopards' success. The Leopards last won the CHAN title in 2016 in Rwanda, where they made light work of Mali, cruising to a 3-0 victory in the final. DR Congo are in Group A alongside Kenya, Morocco, who were the first team to arrive in Nairobi on Monday. Zambia and Angola are expected to check in this afternoon in time for their first fixture against Morocco on Sunday from 6 p.m. at Nyayo Stadium. The national women volleyball team, Malkia Strikers, have intensified preparation for the 2025 FIVB Women World Cup, a World Championship set to take place from August 22nd to the 7th of September across multiple cities in Thailand. The 10th time African champions have been drawn into a challenging Pool G against Poland, Germany and Vietnam. The Malkia Strikers are banking on a blend of experience and rising stars to make an impact. Kenya will be looking forward to build on their spirited performance in the 2022 edition in the Netherlands, where they secured a memorable straight set win over arch rivals Cameroon, currently training at Nyayo Stadium Gymnasium. The team is in residential camp as they fine-tune key technical areas. Head coach Godfrey Omondi, who also leads regular season champions Kenya Pipeline, says the focus has narrowed to 3 critical areas to fine-tune their preparation. Malkia Strikers captain Meldina Sunday praised the squad. Here's the story. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas is back in the headlines, this time not for his performance on the court, but for a federal indictment. Prosecutors say Arenas and several others ran an illegal high-stakes poker ring out on his Los Angeles mansion. With serious charges on the table, the case is drawing national attention. Here's more on the investigation.
Former NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas is facing federal charges for allegedly running illegal high-stakes poker games out of his Los Angeles mansion. Prosecutors say the operation active between 2021 and 2022 include private chefs, security, paid companions and rec fees, resembling a full-scale underground casino. Arenas, now 43, is charged with conspiracy, illegal gambling, and making false statements to federal investigators. Among the 5 fathers charged is a suspected Israeli organized crime figure, also accused of immigration fraud tied to a sham marriage. If convicted, Arenas could face up to 5 years in prison for each charge. The former NBA star known as Agent Zero last played in 2012 and is the father of Elijah Arenas, whose season is currently on hold due to injury. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Well, we've come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same channel. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Ivy Kamau. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.